Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for March 26th, 2025, the anniversary of the final Monday Nitro back in 2001. AEW Dynamite on the verge of surpassing Monday Nitro for number of episodes. I believe that will be in a few weeks. Now, let's get to Dynamite. We do have AEW Dynasty coming up a week from Sunday, another pay-per-view from AEW. We kicked off the show with the international champion, Kenny Omega, going up against Blake Christian. I believe Blake Christian was in NXT for like 6 months back in 2021. He's been working in Ring of Honor, basically a showcase match for Omega. Blake Christian did get in a little bit of offense. He flipped off Omega, but ultimately, despite the interference from Lee Johnson on the outside of the ring, Kenny Omega was able to take Christian to Snapdragon Suplex City, hit him with the V-trigger, and then picked up the win in a relatively short match. It could have gone 3 minutes. It went a little bit longer than that, but thankfully it wasn't like this 15-minute banger. Omega beat him relatively decisively, which I'm fine with. And then after the match was over, Omega cut a post-match promo. He hyped up his Dynasty match against Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey. He called out Bailey. Bailey came down to the ring, talked about how he admires Kenny Omega as a wrestler and a person, but isn't going to hold anything back at Dynasty. And then Ricochet appeared on the big screen, I guess via satellite. He was at a house, a backyard. There was a pool there, and he was dressed up, and he said he is dressed for his wedding. I guess Ricochet and Samantha Irvin getting married. And he said he will leave Dynasty with the girl and the gold. I guess congratulations to Ricochet, if he is in fact getting married for real. And should be a hell of a match at Dynasty. Mike Bailey and Kenny Omega have history going back to PWG. I'm sure that will be a banger of a match. And Bailey's promo, it was what it was. It was very basic, but it was fine. We had a backstage segment with Ring of Honor champion Chris Jericho and his branches, Big Bill and Brian Keith. He's mad at them. He wants them to prove themselves. And then Jericho proposed a mask versus title match. Jericho said he would defend against Bandito in this match at Dynasty. I guess this means new champion. Finally, we can end this Jericho Ring of Honor title run. I don't think Bandito's losing the mask, right? Anyways, I don't really care about the stipulation. Just get the title off Jericho and let's move on. MJF came to the ring for a promo, and this was to answer the invitation from MVP about potentially joining the Hurt Syndicate. He invited MVP to the ring, and MVP brought up how after the situation with Adam Cole, he doesn't really want to make friends again, but MVP also doesn't make friends. MVP makes business. And MJF said he would like to be in the business of hurting people. MJF went for the handshake, but then Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin showed up. They got a big pop from the crowd. And Lashley then took the card from MVP and ripped it up. Lashley held up his fist, and MJF left the ring. So Lashley is not on board with MJF being part of the Hurt Syndicate. I guess the plot will thicken with this one. We'll see where it goes. Hopefully there's some follow-up to this. One would think that Lashley would have said something a few weeks ago like, no, MJF, we're not working with him. Why did he wait till now? But anyways, Lashley's not cool with it. We'll talk more about that in a bit. But the segment wasn't over. We had Big Bill and Brian Keith coming out there. And Big Bill said MVP is the MVP of being the bitch of Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. And Bill brought up how he never lost the tag team titles. His partner was pinned and Sting retired. He never got his rematch. That was a reference to Ricky Starks, but he didn't say his name. And then MVP said that if they want a title match, they actually have to win a match first. And I think it's going to be Big Bill and Brian Keith against Top Flight. So there you go. That'll be the win for Big Bill and Brian Keith. I don't really care about this tag match. I'm more interested in the MJF storyline. If Big Bill was teaming up with Enzo, I'd be intrigued, but Big Bill and Brian Keith, meh, don't really care. Brian Keith should be squashed by Lashley and Benjamin, and we move on. But with Big Bill, they'll at least have a somewhat competitive match. We had a backstage interview with Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa, but it was also teased that maybe Thunder Rosa will go after the women's championship from Toni Storm. We then had Brody King going one-on-one with Kyle Fletcher. Shout out to Colin Andrew, who's in the chat room tonight. Great job on the No DQ review. Check it out on demand if you missed it. We had an excellent discussion. Brody King versus Kyle Fletcher. Solid match here. Fletcher was getting a little bit too arrogant. He was posing, and that allowed Brody King to get in some offense. And then during the break, Fletcher gained the upper hand. Then Brody King did a suicide dive to the outside. Fletcher regained the upper hand, sent King into the post, and then they were both on the apron. King gave him a Death Valley driver on the apron. And then after the match, Fletcher regained control. He hit King with a stalling tombstone. King kicked out of that. And then King made another comeback, but then we had Don Callis. He got off the commentary position, got out of the commentary position, and then it was back and forth a little bit more. But then with the help of Mark Davis, who helped out Kyle Fletcher while Don Callis distracted the referee, Fletcher was able to pick up the win with the turnbuckle brainbuster. Good match here. We had a nice win for Kyle Fletcher. Brody King takes another L, but, Fletcher's the one they're pushing. And then after the match was over, we had a post-match attack, but then Powerhouse Hobbs made the save, and we had security. We had a pull-apart brawl to set up the next match. That doesn't happen too often. That's a little twist on the pull-apart brawl. And by the way, an interesting thing about this, and I missed it live. Matthew and Dwayne Atkinson pointed this out to me. One of the security guards was former WWE NXT star Von Wagner. Yes, Von Wagner made his AEW debut as a security guard, a random security guard. You are that low on the totem pole that they won't even throw you in a match on Collision or something. Your debut with AEW is being a security guard. Wow. That's rough. But hey, Von Wagner got into the building somehow. He got on TV by hook or by crook. Yeah, I didn't even notice him, even though the dude is very tall and would be noticeable. But yeah, I didn't even recognize him until it was pointed out to me that, oh yeah, that was Von Wagner. Yeah, Von Wagner low-key made his AEW debut on this week's show. So this pull apart brawl set up another match, Powerhouse Hobbs against Mark Davis. Meaty match, back and forth a little bit. Got the meat chants from the fans, but it was relatively short, and I'm totally fine with this. Hobbs picks up the win with the spine buster. I have no issues with this being a short match. Build up Hobbs. I'm fine with that. That the problem with like these 15-minute banger matches, the loser looks strong in defeat, but also you need some short matches and let your stars actually pick up some impressive wins. And this was one for Hobbs. I liked it. I thought this was good. After the match was over, we had a Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland confrontation backstage. They still have their hatred. Their feud is always going to be existing. They'll probably never be a tag team. They'll certainly never be friends. And they're going to be in the Owen Hart tournament, trying to get that all-in match. Well, actually, Swerve has his title match, but Page will be in the Owen Hart. We had Rated FTR doing a sit-down interview with Tony Schiavone. Now, remember, last week, Dax Harwood walked out on Adam Copeland, and Dax said his emotions got the best of him. He apologized. He said that FTR, they shifted their focus away to help out Cope, only for Cope to lose twice. And Cope was a little offended by this, saying he was helping FTR, and Cash was there as the peacemaker, and the idea was brought up for them to go after the trios titles at AEW Dynasty. Now, I have a feeling we are going to see a heel turn. Dax Harwood will turn against Cope. Furthermore, I think Cash Wheeler will side with his partner. My gut feeling is, and this is just speculation on my part, but my gut feeling is All In Texas, it's going to be FTR versus a reunited Cope and Christian Cage. Christian will have to turn babyface. He's been a great heel, and it's going to be hard to go back to being a babyface, but I feel like before Cope retires, we're going to get Edge and Christian back together again for a match in AEW. And maybe that's why we've had that storyline with Nick Wayne and a potential split with Nick Wayne and Christian, and maybe Kip Sabian sides with forgetting his name now. Wow, I'm getting old. I just said his name and I'm forgetting his name. Nick Wayne. Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian will get together. And Christian, somehow they're going to have to come up with a good storyline here to get the fans to cheer for Christian after all the terrible things he said. But yeah, Cope and Christian, I feel like it's inevitable. And yeah, that would be a hell of a match. FTR versus Cope and Christian. I'm thinking it's going to happen at All In Texas. We might get the turn as soon as Dynasty with FTR, and then maybe the Christian storyline will play out over the next couple of weeks. We had Swerve Strickland come into the ring, calling out Jon Moxley, the world champion. Moxley did come into the ring, and Swerve brought up how Moxley hides behind the Death Riders and even hides behind Marina Shafir. He said Moxley is not worthy to be champion. And then Claudio showed up right behind Prince Nana. And then Moxley had a response saying that he wants to know how far Swerve will go. He said Swerve hasn't suffered enough, but he will at Dynasty. And then Marina Shafir came out there with a crowbar, but then Willow Nightingale showed up with a lead pipe. Swerve made it clear he's smarter than Moxley. He knew what Moxley was going to try to pull, and he made it clear that he is violence. We had a stare down between the two of them, and then there was a brawl between Marina and Willow on the outside of the ring. And we had that little brawl, and the bad guys eventually retreated. So, yeah, it was a solid segment. I liked Swerve's mic work here. Moxley was a little bit in his usual Rambo mode, but I thought Swerve felt very focused and came off like a big star. And I don't know if he's getting the title. Probably not, but should be an epic match. Probably a very violent one. So for those of you, I'm just going to say it now. If you don't like the violent stuff, don't order Dynasty, because Swerve and Moxley will probably be bleeding. You're going to get the you sick F moments. They'll scratch each other. They'll bite each other. There'll be blood in multiple places. There'll be objects stuck in their flesh. Just come to accept it. With these guys, it's going to be violent. If you buy the pay-per-view, you know what you're getting. We had a backstage segment with Samoa Joe and Hook, and Max Caster was talking to a bunch of the lower tier guys, trying to befriend them, and Joe ended up choking out Max Caster. Throwaway segment. I think it was just to get Joe and Hook on TV. And then we had a backstage interview with Jay White. He is officially entering the Owen Hart tournament. I don't think he'll win it, but he's in it. Next up, we had Top Flight picking up a squash win. Big Bill and Brian Keith were watching, and I guess these two teams are going to fight on Collision. Give Top Flight a win before they ultimately lose. I think that's what this was designed to do. And then we had Takeshita versus Mark Briscoe, which was another pretty good match here. Briscoe got in some offense, doing some biting, some redneck kung fu. Takeshita avoided the top rope elbow, but then he got hit with a lariat. And then Don Callis was concerned. He got off commentary, and Takeshita hit a knee strike. Briscoe kicked out of that. Briscoe then hit the J Driller, but Takeshita got his foot on the rope. Takeshita recovered, and Takeshita got the 1-2-3 victory with the Raging Fire. Still your Continental Champion. I don't even think the title was on the line, but good win here for Takeshita. Match was fine. Then backstage, the Death Riders officially accepted the match for Dynasty against Rated FTR. However, Pac made it clear that they are challenging Rated FTR, not the other way around. They want Rated FTR to survive them. Then we had another backstage segment, this time with the Hurt Syndicate. MVP said they were looking for a fourth guy, and he was just trying to make the move. But Bobby Lashley said they cannot trust MJF. And MVP said he respects their thoughts and their opinions, and he said they'll get back to the potential fourth man at a later time. By the way, I screwed up. Takeshita is not the Continental Champion, nor is he the International Champion. I completely forgot that he lost the title. There you go. Shows you how much attention I'm paying, or maybe just there's too many titles. Who's got this title? Who's got that title? Hard to keep track these days. All right, we had our main event. The women's match got the main event spot again. There you go. They're starting to get more main event slots. We had Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford against the women's champion Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa, known as Thunder Tits. Yes, that is their name. They had the early momentum, and then after the commercial break, the heels got the upper hand for a while. Then Toni came in with the hot tag. She sent Bayne over the top rope, but Bayne got on her feet. She landed on her feet, very much like Kane, and she was like no selling like Kane, like a Kane or Undertaker early 90s, where Tony's trying to take her out and Bayne's barely selling anything. Things broke down with all four of them in the ring. Then Thunder Rosa was taken out of the equation. She got hit with the Fate's Descent, the F5 that Bayne does. And then Ford accidentally got kicked by Bayne, so it was down to Bayne and Toni Storm in the ring as the legal women. And Bayne was able to pin the women's champion with the Fate's Descent. Nice win here for Bayne. Build her up as the number one contender. I liked it. I thought it was a good finish here. I don't think Bayne's winning the title, but build her up as a solid challenger for Toni Storm. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. And you could argue maybe it was too soon for the champ to lose, but, you know, Rosa didn't take the pin, and they can always have her face Toni Storm at a later date. So I was actually fine with this booking decision. And all in all, it was a good Dynamite. It was pretty solid this week. I give it 6 out of 10 points. Good show. Not a home run by any means. I mean, didn't blow me away necessarily, but you had some good wrestling on the show. Couple good promos, and yeah, very solid episode of Dynamite. And Dynasty is shaping up to be a really strong show. All In could potentially be a really great show too. You know, they're slowly building up for that as well. Matthew is like, it gets a bonus point for no Mercedes. Yeah, no Mercedes on this week's Dynamite. She will be on Collision though, so there you go. If you want to watch Mercedes Moné, you have to tune into Collision this week. That's all I got for Dynamite. I hope you guys enjoyed the recap. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Spread the word. Like I said, check out the No DQ review if you missed it. And next week's show is shaping up to be big. That's all I'm going to say. Next week's No DQ review, Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Take care, everybody. Say yes to NoDQ.com. And I will see you all next time.